Okay, all set? Okay, I'll call the Londonderry Planning Board meeting to order for August 4th, 2021. I just want to point out for everyone who is here that this room has two exits. They're on the right-hand side of the audience, the front of the room, and the back of the room. If you have to evacuate for any reason, I ask you to proceed to the exit closest to you, go outside, move away from the building, don't come back into our fire officials have instructed us to do so. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise. We'll pledge allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Jason is here. So Chris can't make it, so I'll appoint Roger to vote for Chris. And Jeff can't make it. I'll appoint Jason to vote for Jeff. And it leaves Al vacant. We have Deb and Gianni for ex officios, so that gives us 7 voting members. That is a quorum, and we can proceed. First part of the meeting is administrative board work. We get our business done. We have minutes to approve regional impact determinations and discussion with town staff, and then we get into our new plans and public hearings, of which we have 2 site plans and 1 subdivision plan. So we'll proceed with the minutes of July 7th, 2021. I'll take that separate. I just need a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Jake. Give a second. Second by Jason. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, Sheriff's affirmative, and the minutes of July 7th are approved.
I abstained from that one.
Okay, if the record showed Gianni has abstained for, that's right, you weren't here. Okay, take the minutes of July 14th, 2021.
Second.
Oh, waiting for the motion.
So moved.
Okay. Takes a motion, Roger does a second. Any discussion on the minutes of July 14th? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Abstain.
Jake abstains. Anyone else abstain? Okay, 1 abstention. And the minutes of July 14th, 2021 are approved. And regional impact determinations, Colleen.
There are no regional impact determinations this evening.
Okay. And we'll move on to discussions with town staff. Colleen?
Yes, so we do have a couple of items this evening. The first is a request for an extension to meet the conditions of approval for previously approved subdivision plan on Litchfield Road. This was a subdivision to create 1 lot. This plan was originally conditionally approved in February of 2018. The applicant typically has 2 years to meet the conditions of approval. There have been a couple of extensions granted previously. Some of the delays due to COVID and delays with getting an easement over an abutting property. So the applicant has submitted a request. I did ask Chris DeRosa, the applicant, to be here this evening just in case the board has any questions, because this has been continued several times or been granted several extensions. There's nothing in the regulations that have changed, and at this point, it has just been delays with bank approvals for the easements to be obtained. Because the property is a mortgage property, the bank is required to approve any easements on the property. So the applicant is requesting an additional 60 days. If you have questions of Chris, otherwise I'd ask the board to consider granting additional 60 days to meet the conditions of approval.
I know it's not been the easiest of times anyway. The board have any questions? Oh. Anything you want to add, Chris? No? Okay. Colleen said it all. Okay. What I'll do is take a motion to grant a 60-day extension expiring on
October 5th, 2021.
October 5th.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Jake, second by Deb. Any discussion on that motion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative, and motion carries. I have been granted an extension to the 5th of October. Good luck.
The only other item I have under discussions with staff is the board will recall back in October of 2020, you granted conditional approval of a site plan which has since been signed for two industrial buildings up on Aviation Park Drive. One was the Loomis facility and another was a warehouse with the user to be determined. At the time that the plan was reviewed, architectural elevations were reviewed by the board for the Loomis facility, but the other building did not have their renderings yet. And Heritage Commission had requested that they come back to Heritage once those architectural elevations were ready. And so the applicant now has renderings that are part of your packet. We've got up on the screen. I apologize, the coloring is difficult to see. It is, fairly standard industrial warehousing style building up off that Aviation Drive cul-de-sac. They did attend the Heritage Commission meeting on July 22nd. The Heritage Commission reviewed and accepted the plan, architectural elevations as presented. So we're presenting this to the board just as an information item and to get a consensus that the board is okay with this. If there are any comments or concerns, you can let me know and we can address those with the applicant. But as I said, the Heritage Commission reviewed and was satisfied with this
Yeah,
architecture.
there wasn't much discussion, they just liked it, so. It fits in, I mean, it's industrial, so where it is.
It's industrial because of the location near the airport. There are aviation lights proposed in each of the corners of the building. The roof level is really set and determined by the flight path and keeping this a safe facility. So if the board has any comments, I'll take them. Otherwise, just a consensus that this is acceptable.
They used earth tone colors, so that made the commission happy.
Yeah.
This is the building that was like in front of Loomis, right, or to the side of it?
Exactly, sort of in the front to the
Yeah.
side a little bit, correct.
It originally, was it a big red stripe it had originally?
I believe
Or is
that
that the
there,
Loomis building?
I think that was Loomis had the red stripe. With this building, they came in knowing that there was, sort of a certain tone and color of the building that the Heritage
Yeah.
Commission wanted. So they went with the earth tones from the start on this one in order to satisfy the concerns on the other building.
Okay.
Loomis used red for the branding.
Yeah. Naturally.
Yeah, the Loomis was branding, they toned down the,
think it's ugly,
the
but-
sharpness of the
It's in a
red.
commercial area, or an industrial area.
So the consensus of the board is, it's okay?
Did anybody ever talk about putting solar on the roof?
I think there was some
I
discussion when
believe
they
that
were
there was,
in.
because I think that you may have brought, or I believe it was brought up during the public hearing on this. I think one of the concerns, and I think it's something I would need to see because I think other buildings have run into in that area, is because of its location directly under the flight path, conflicts with aircraft by having a reflective solar panel. So it is something I think that they can consider. I know that we had asked if they were going to be doing that, but it's
Only
not.
because of, what's that company there, the wine company, the
Bellavance
Elevance,
has,
they've done that, and they did it, it's really good, and it cuts their electric bill down, and I was just trying to be,
Yeah, I think when we have companies come in like that, we'll tell them to go talk to Bellavance, because
yeah, because
there's a definite advantage.
there is, and they did a great job with it up there. And they're
Yeah.
under a flight flat, and so and it's
Yeah.
fine, I mean, it's a personal choice, but
There-
just try to
I think
encourage
after
people.
the fact, we did hear some comments from the airport asking about the solar panels, so,
But the airport had their problem with solar panels a number of years
the
ago, where
parking
they
on
get
the
the
parking
reflection
garage,
of
yeah.
the pilots.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear because both people were
Oh,
talking.
Jake?
What?
It was at the parking garage at the airport.
Parking
They were
garage,
having
yes.
problems with the solar panels, and didn't they like
Yeah.
flip them around or something?
No, they took them off.
They took them off,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing is Bellavance is off to the side of the flight path. This is like directly underneath it, so that could be.
I know the comment was brought up during the hearing, and we'll make sure to pass
Yeah,
along that
I
we do
just, I just think
encourage-
it's something
yeah,
we should just try to be conscious of
Yep.
with all things coming in. It's
Absolutely.
like, connecting to water, it's the
It's
same
nice
sort of.
wide open, so they got good sun exposure, so.
Yeah,
that, be,
exactly. All right,
Right.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yep, all set on that, Colleen?
Yep, I'm all set. That's all that I have.
Okay, you have anything, Jose?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. And let's see. I have, okay, Town Council passed a rezoning of number 20 and 22 Young Road to R3 multifamily. It was a 3-1 vote on the Town Council. The Office of Strategic Initiatives, which I guess now is the Planning and Development Department of the Business and Development.
They've changed their they're no longer DRED, so they're no longer Resource and Economic Development, but I
Like
think
B, I think
business,
BEA or.
business assistance, business and development, and OSI is now underneath that
Yeah.
new agency.
Yeah. There is I sent out an email because they're having a noontime seminar on zoning amendments.
And
It'll be the third Thursday of every month at noontime.
And I did reach out to the planner from OSI who's doing that to find out because, to find out if it's going to be a seminar focused on process for zoning amendments for towns that adopt zoning by town meeting, because they have a very different process than a community like Londonderry where it's done, where our legislative body is the town council. So they haven't determined yet what their scope is going to be, but if I get a sense that it's going to be something more relating to town meeting process and procedures, then I'll let you know. But if it sounds like it'll be just a worthwhile discussion on, zoning in general and considerations for zoning amendments, then certainly would be worthy if folks have some time to participate in.
Yeah.
If it is it possible for people who can't attend it during the day, have it, like, get a tape of it so that we can have an archive of it so that,
They do usually
They
watch it.
archive it because all the previous ones, you can go on to OSI, I think it still comes up if you Google OSI. They have it all on their site. So it's the video and then the materials are there also.
okay,
So everything is there.
all right, thank you.
So you have an evening time flipping through scrolling through the computer and, but the videos are good. Most of it is verbal anyway, so, but they have their overheads. The overheads are on the site also. And then Southern New Hampshire Planning has received a $100,000 grant, which I think you've seen in the papers, which comes from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, which is the COVID money. And it's going to be funding a study for housing for persons and families of all income levels. So, and all the planning commissions have received $100,000 to do their studies. There's a lot of activity going on at the state right now in regards to housing. What comes out of it, pray tell what, I have no idea. I don't think they do at this point, so. We're going to be doing a research. This is over actually a 2-year period. I think it extends, because I know we had discussion on the fiscal years it carries into for the budgeting for the commission, so. And that's all I have, so we'll go right to our main feature here. We have a application and formal review of a site plan amendment for the construction of a 5,000 square foot clubhouse and associated site improvements at number 5 Lund Street, which is in Litchfield. Tax map 8, lots 12 and 13. This is zone agricultural residential 1. Londonderry Fish and Game is the owner and the applicant. Londonderry Fish and Game is in Londonderry, but the entrance is through the town of Litchfield.
Could I take a second for a technical difficulty?
Oh, okay, yeah.
The handouts of the memos. Laura's got some hard copies.
Well, when I click on it,
Yep, if you double click on it.
on right here,
Yep,
okay,
that's the step.
and then it doesn't come up.
Click, look down here.
I know I do that, and,
It's right there.
Right.
Because you had,
but it won't pop up. It's not popping up on the screen. So I'll go next door.
yeah, if you want to move to the
Yeah.
other computer. I'm not sure what, but here's a hard copy.
Oh, thanks.
That's- All right. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, as far as completeness, there are two outstanding checklist items which the applicant has requested waivers. The first is checklist item 7, sections 3.10 and 4.14 of the site plan regulations to not submit a landscaping plan. Staff supports granting this waiver request due to the use of the site as a private membership club with shooting range, fishing pond and trail system, its remote location, and because of with the exception of the small area being disturbed for the clubhouse, a majority of the 80-acre site is wooded. The second item is checklist item 11.5 in sections 3.04 and 4.18B of the site plan regulations to provide utility clearance letters. Staff supports granting this waiver for gas, telephone, and cable, as the project does not propose providing any of those utilities, and we support granting it for electric utility clearance. For acceptance purposes only, we've included a recommended condition of approval that the electric utility clearance letter be obtained prior to plan signature.
Okay. Board has no questions. I'll take a motion on those two waivers. We can go to completeness.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Jake, which is motion to grant checklist waivers number 1 and 2 as outlined in staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Deb has done the second.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay, let the record show that Roger has recused himself because he is a member of the Fish and Game. You can go sit there if you want, Roger, take it easy. You can, from there, you can ask questions. The public. There's a warm seat out there for you.
Sounds like they like me.
Okay, Deb has made this second, and Roger has recused himself, so there's six voting members. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, sure, it's affirmative, and the two waivers have been granted. I need a motion now for the completeness.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the application as complete per staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Okay, I have a motion on completeness. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. Any discussion by the board? I don't see any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, sure, it's affirmative. And the application has been accepted as complete. This starts the public hearing on it. It also starts the 65-day time frame in which this board has to render a decision. And just identify yourself for our records, and we'll proceed.
Yeah, good evening. Jason Lopez, Keach Nordstrom Associates. With me tonight, Londonderry Fish and Game Club Incorporated, Board of Director Chairman Richard Olson is here to address questions, if any of the members have any. Also, a number of the Board of Directors, they're also here this evening. So, as was stated, the property is entirely within Londonderry and has access through easement out to Lund Street. So the property address is 5 Lund Street in Litchfield. Property is located south of the Continental Paving and Pit property, to the west of the Musquash Conservation Area. Property is comprised of 2 parcels totaling 80 acres. This proposal seeks to construct a 5,000 square foot clubhouse, and it is also amending the 2014 site plan that permitted the construction of a 200 and 400 yard shooting range. Our existing conditions plan focused on the area immediately around where we're proposing the clubhouse. Again, we were relying upon the previously approved site plan and have some waivers I'll mention at the tail end here, relying on some of that previous information on the previously approved site plan, opposed to regenerating all that work for this proposal. We had the area of interest reviewed by wetland scientists and soil scientists. We hired GZA, Geo-Environmental, to conduct a wildlife assessment for the property. There were a fair number of endangered species in the vicinity. So that report was provided to New Hampshire Fish and Game. They've reviewed it. They've accepted it provided comments. Their comments have been incorporated into the plan set before the board tonight. We've also had review for New Hampshire Division of Historical Resources, and we had a finding of no historic properties affected. We presented to the Londonderry Conservation Commission. No comments received that evening. We also presented the building to the Heritage Commission, and the project was accepted as presented. A couple days ago, one of the board members met with Brian Johnson of the Fire Department to review site access, particularly the gravel roads on the property. We have made revision to one of the notes about the gravel drives. They need to be 20 feet minimum. So we added a note, presented a revised sheet to Brian Johnson, and he has issued email to staff accepting that note. The project does impact 54,000 square feet. The construction of the 200 and 400 yard shooting ranges, that impact exceeded 100,000 square feet. Because this work is being conducted within the 10-year window under their administrative rules, this project was required to obtain an alteration of terrain permit. We did seek that permit, and it has been issued. The site, this construction will be over an acre of disturbance, so we will have a notice of intent that will be filed. We have submitted information to DPW for review of the stormwater permit, and we have septic design designed. There was a scheduling conflict that came up, but we will get that submitted to the town and state for review and approval. So the clubhouse will be 5,000 square feet, served by a well and a septic system. The club does, they are in process of working with the power company to connect this building to power. Currently, their existing Quonset hut, well in the back of the property, doesn't have power. No well out there, no septic system, so this will be a nice add for the facilities out there. We have a parking lot out front. That'll be another item of discussion. We are proposing a gravel parking lot. Within the parking lot, there'll be enough space for 31 spaces, including 2 ADA spaces. The ADA spaces are proposed to be on a concrete slab, so it's a surface that can be navigated in accordance with ADA requirements, and also we can provide the proper striping and lines on that pad. There's a dumpster with a screening. We do not have site lights around the parking area and the site. It's just going to be lights on the building for, per code, for egress at all points of access. Drainage, we have some swales that run around the edge of the building and parking lot, directed to a treatment swale. As seen on the screen, you know, the lower part, we have a treatment swale that meets AOT requirements and has been approved by them. We do have a rendering of the building. Kurt Lauer from Lauer Architects developed a nice rendering. Colors don't quite show up there too well, but you know, nice looking building buried way out back in the woods. Usually I get stuck, you know, presenting tin cans. I can't get this one on, you know, on Rockingham Road. I get this one out in the backwoods, and the next one I'll have garage bay doors on Rockingham Road. But,
This is quite
you know,
good. It impressed the Heritage Commission.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, the building, what the commission likes is stuck out in the back 40, literally.
Times are changing.
So waivers, already discussed the landscape waiver, the utility clearance letter. The other waivers that we're seeking is for topo of the full site. Again, we have a note on the plan referencing the previously approved plan and would like to rely on that previous site plan showing the entire property. Also, soils and wetlands, again, those were shown on the previously approved site plan. We updated the wetlands in the area of interest, but did not recreate and show those on the, for the entire property. And the last item was a waiver for the parking lot to be gravel opposed to paving. So with that, I will turn to the board if there's questions and more specific items or items of interest.
Okay, good, thank you. I'm going to do staff first, then the board, and then I'll go to the public. So Colleen?
Sure. I'll start with the waivers. So as Jason said, they're requesting waiver from section 3.04, the site plan regulations, to not provide a paved parking lot surface. Don't be shocked here. Staff supports granting this waiver in this specific instance, and I'm going to be clear, because this is a very unique use, being that it's a private membership club, shooting range, fishing ponds, trail system. It's not open to the general public. There's no commercial traffic. There's no general public traffic. This is a membership club only, out in the back 40, out in the woods. We recognize that this is a very unique use. So in this very specific instance, staff support this, partially due, in fact, to the fact that the accessible parking spaces are going to be concrete. They are going to be demarcated properly, and the gravel surface will be sufficient to hold the weight of a fire truck. The next waiver being section 3.11, to not provide soil and wetland identification for the entire parcel. Staff does support granting that waiver, as soils and wetland delineation have been provided in the area of development, and we do have that previous plan on file that had the wetland delineation for the entirety of the parcel. And finally, the waiver from section 4.12, the site plan regulations, to not provide the two-foot contours for the entire parcel. Again, we support granting the waiver because appropriate topography was provided in the area of development. A couple other comments that I'll point out. One item that had been discussed, and I'll just draw the board's attention to the fact that, as Jason said, this the treatment swale needed for the drainage system, it does cross over the two separate parcels, the two separate lots that are both owned right now by Fish and Game. We've discussed potentially a lot merger, which would merge these two lots and would address any potential issue of changing of property ownership in the future. We've recommended a condition of approval that either a lot merger be filed or appropriate notes be added to the plan to indicate that should the parcels be conveyed separately in the future, drainage easements be recorded at that time for the maintenance of the drainage improvements. I think it's probably unlikely that these parcels would be conveyed separately due to the ownership of the membership of the club, but we'd feel more comfortable either if there was a merger or some sort of notes on the plan relating to the ownership, just to make sure that if one property is transferred, that the swale is maintained. As Jason said, the fire department has met on site, and some additional information was submitted to the fire department. We did include a condition of approval, or would recommend that the plan be updated to the satisfaction of the fire department to indicate the existing gravel access drive meets NFPA requirements per the discussions with the fire department. And then we would recommend that all appropriate permits and approvals be noted on the plan, including the septic approval and the DOT or the AOT approval. So that's all I have.
Do you have anything, Jose?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just going to go through and summarize some of the main points in the technical memorandum. Site grading is not shown accurately with respect to the top of the septic leach field. With respect to the top of the septic leach field and its required setback from the 3-to-1 slope, and should be revised. The development, well, this is just what Colleen had discussed, was the development spans two parcels in common ownership, and as such, we feel it's appropriate for consolidation or some notes to the effect of maintaining the stormwater management system in the event of a sale. The concrete sidewalk, this is on the construction details sheet. The concrete sidewalk detail shows 4 inches of crushed gravel beneath it where 8-inch minimum crushed gravel is required. The trash enclosure detail does not show details of the double leaf swing gate, and that should be added. In the project drainage report, the drainage report should show a summary table for each stormwater swale. Right now, it only shows a summary for the treatment swale, not the 2 conveyance swales. The drainage report calculations use CN values for pavement when CN values for gravel should be used to avoid misrepresentation. And there's a reference to a stormwater practice location plan that was not actually provided. That should be provided. And notes stating the copies of the operation and maintenance manual inspection report should be filed with the town annually. And we do not have any comments on the submitted traffic impact assessment.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the board. I'll start with Ian.
I don't have any questions about the plan. I looked it over and it looks fine to me.
Yep.
Right now.
I don't really have any questions, but on the pillars on the building, it would be so cool if you could use, what do you call that, stone? Stone, not flagstone, but like, you know what I mean, rocks around it? It would- I couldn't see from that,
Yeah.
you can't tell.
So-
It is stone? Oh, never mind then, I'm sorry, I'm blind as a bat. This happens when you get old. Beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to make you get your exercise in, your steps on your Fitbit.
Well, he's young and healthy.
No, I think it looks beautiful, and it's a much going to be used, especially during the fishing derby, being stuck in that little.
Quonset hut.
Once it up.
Yeah, trying to get breakfast with the kids was always a challenge.
Yeah, lose the old nostalgia.
Yeah, but it's a great event that they hold. So
Yes. Johnny,
I don't have any questions.
Jason,
I have no questions.
Jake,
I'm good. I think the building looks, you guys have like a big metal shell out there right now, right? So I think this is a huge upgrade from what's there now. I think it looks good for the middle of nowhere, right in the middle of the woods, that's for sure. Colleen, I appreciate the clarification on the gravel road side of things.
Being crystal clear on this.
Yeah, and I understand the private way and whatnot, so, thank you.
I'm actually surprised too.
Okay.
are there any butters or anyone from the public have any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to this site plan amendment? I don't see any. Ann?
This
Bring it back
isn't
to the
about
board.
the project, but I have a question about the easement, the Public Service Company of New Hampshire easement. Does that mean you're not, the gun club isn't going to be using anything to the east? I'm looking at it, I'm not sure which way is north, south, east, or west. On my screen, to the right of it, there's a zigzag of property to the right on my screen of that easement. Is that off limits to any gun club use? Because you obviously can't shoot across the easement.
Yeah, the easement bisects
I'm just
lot
curious.
13.
I'll never get a chance to ask you again because I'm not going in there, so.
The access road?
Yeah, I'm looking at the actual map.
Yeah,
Yeah, there, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I can address that if you need me.
I'm just,
Power line easement is out here.
Yeah,
The clubhouse and the existing Quonset hut
right,
out here. And then they own all
Yeah.
this.
right. I'm
If you
just-
could come to the
I'm looking at
microphone and
map
maybe
over
explain,
here.
is there activity that happens on the other side of that easement, or are you restricted?
It's,
Just for our records,
Yeah, I
name,
just want to know,
address,
I
please.
learned so much about the Blanding Turtle and snakes from your report.
my name's
and
Rick
so I'm
Olson.
just-
I'm the board chairman for the Londonderry Fishing Game Club. That easement issue came up when we were building the 200, 400-yard range. The easement was missed by an engineer, and it ran right through the the foot end of our, the latter portion of our 400-yard range. We approached Eversource. I got to tell you, they were fantastic. They worked with us. We dog-legged that easement, so it runs around the back of our berm, just like you're seeing right there. And it continues on. There's no plans by Eversource to use it, to make, it's an easement from 1968. But, as far as power companies go, if they get easements, they keep them, whether they use them or not. And they've given us no notices. In fact, they helped us out so much, they paid the recording costs when we actually did the easement. So it doglegs, it comes into the property, and it doglegs down around the berm and then back out, and it meets where the easement leaves our property. So the only part that was disturbed was that section, and the easement was revised in 2019, maybe early in that, 2017. I can't remember the exact year. But,
I'm just curious if it affected your operations. at all.
no, it doesn't. In that particular easement, we had a lot of discussions. If they were going to maintain status quo on that easement, it wouldn't affect our range operations. Obviously, if they were going to put it in use, and we would have to, they would give us notice when they were going to do maintenance or whatever, or cutting, and we'd cease shooting on it for that period of time. So, but again, it's not an easement that they have any active plans of using. It's just their real estate division was reviewing when it went from being public service to Eversource. They reviewed all the easements and right-of-ways, and they happened to notice that one of our engineers totally missed it when it came up. And you should also note that there's houses built out in that easement in Litchfield, so it's not.
Okay, and it heads off into the Musquash?
Yeah, it goes right through the Musquash, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Just to make a mention, just because it's, I know David Ellis has seen a lot of cellar holes in the Musquash. If you come across anybody, please let the town know, and they can get in touch with him to take a look.
We've got a
at it
well on
for
our
historical
property, a
purposes.
stone-lined well, and we've got a couple of cellar holes there as well, yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, I was just wondering if, if you
Dave
do
Ellis
find
is an
something, if you
expert
could,
on a lot of the
and I
town
could tag
history.
along.
He researches old cellar holes, he's researched a
Yeah.
section of town that changed some of the history that had been reported from ages ago.
So we do tours of the cellar holes in the Musquash. Well, David leads it, and I bring up the rear.
Well, if
of
you
cellar
tour
holes
those,
in the
don't get bit
Musquash.
by raccoons, so.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the information.
Okay, all set, Ann?
Yep.
Okay, the board have any more questions? If not, we got 3 waivers to address and then the conditional approval. I will take a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the applicant's request for waivers number 1 through 3 as outlined in the staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Okay, I have a motion by Jake.
Second?
Okay,
Second by all.
I hear Deb. My right ear works better than. So Deb has done the second. Any further discussion by the board on the waivers? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions? Chair votes affirmative, and the 3 waivers have been granted. Now to the conditional approval itself. You're on a roll there,
Mr.
Jake.
Ch- Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to grant conditional approval, Londonderry Fishing Game Club site plan for the construction of a 5,000 square foot clubhouse and associated site improvements, 5 Lund Street, Litchfield, map 8, lots 12 and 13, to zone AR1, Londonderry Fishing Game, owner and applicant, in accordance with plans prepared by Keach Nordstrom Associates, dated February 27th, 2020, last revised July 13th, 2021, with the precedent conditions to be filled within 120 days of the approval and prior to plan signature, and general and subsequent conditions of approval to be fulfilled as noted in the staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Motion by Jake. Second. Second by Gianni. Any discussion by the board? I heard something from that direction anyway. Jenny had made one, so. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of conditional approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative, and unanimous of conditional approval.
Thank you very much for your
So,
time.
Just,
Thank you very much.
any questions, you know where to consult with staff, so. Sorry, you're gonna have a fine structure out there. And Roger has returned to the board, so we're back to 7 voting members. And next we have, this is an application for a formal review of a subdivision plan to subdivide tax map 14, pardon me, I get numbers mixed up here. Tax map 10, lot 41 into 2 lots, Pillsbury Road and Michael's Way. Tax map 10, lot 41, zone commercial 1 and PUD, Woodmont Commons Plan Unit Development. Pillsbury Realty Development LLC is the owner, and LD 2020 LLC is the applicant. And Colleen?
So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, there are 2 outstanding checklist items which the applicant has requested waivers. The first is checklist item 6.44 in section 4.17A23 of the subdivision regulations to provide 2-foot contours over the entirety of the subject parcel. The applicant has requested a waiver for this requirement for the area of Duck Pond. Staff supports granting the waiver as it's not practicable to provide topographic contours in the pond area, and because 2-foot contours have been provided over the remainder of the property. The second checklist item, 6.28 in section 4.16 of the subdivision regulations to not provide existing water, sewer, drainage, and utility information. Staff supports granting this waiver for acceptance purposes and has included a recommended condition that as-built plan depicting those systems be provided in lieu of adding them to the subdivision plan. We do have some as-built plans that have been reviewed, but as this site is constantly changing, it's an update to those as-builts.
Okay, board have any questions on the 2 waivers? If we grant the 2 waivers, with staff supports, then we can move to completeness and go on.
I'd like to make a motion to grant checklist waivers 1 and 2 as outlined in staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Okay, motion by Jake, second by Roger. Any discussion on the 2 waivers by the board? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions shows affirmative, and the 2 waivers have been granted. We can go to completeness now.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the application as complete per staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Motion by Jake for completeness, and
Second.
second by Ann. A discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor of completeness signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, chair votes affirmative, and the application has been accepted as complete. This starts the public hearing and also the 65-day timeframe in which this board has to render a decision. So, Jeff, identify yourself for our records officially, please.
Hi, Jeff Cavan with TF Moran's office, representing Woodmont Commons for the subdivision. Again, it's proposing to create a 2.3 acre lot off of Michael's Way. So the parcel is actually framed by Michael's Way to the west, Governor Bell to the north, and Settlers Lane to the east. It's on what we would call, our block 2. So if you're looking at the overall plan as you come in off of Michael's Way down Main Street, it's the parcel there directly to the north. Creating the 2.3 acre lot for the application that follows this for an office building. As far as the PUD standards, the block type is a flex block type and a flex lot type. We have outlined in our application how we've conformed to the PUD standards for both of those. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay. We'll go to
Other than
staff.
that, all the utilities and everything have been brought to the site already.
Okay. Colleen?
Yep, so there's one waiver, one additional waiver for the project, which is Section 4.01C of the subdivision regulations to allow a drawing scale of 1 inch equals 150 feet for the subdivision plan and 1 inch equals 300 feet for the master subdivision plan. Staff supports granting the waiver as the plans are legible at this provided scale, allows for the overall subdivision plan to be viewed on one sheet. In addition to the waiver, a couple of comments from staff. We would recommend that or would be requiring that the owner's signature be provided on the plans. Cross-access parking, utility, and drainage easements should be provided for review and approval by the town and be recorded concurrently. As this is creating a separate lot, there are a series of access easements and drainage and other utility easements that will be required. Asking the parcel ID and street address be confirmed with assessing and noted on the plans as applicable, and checks for recording and LCHIP fees submitted to the town payable to Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. So that's all I have.
Anything, Jose?
Mr. Chairman, there are some various design review items that are fairly boilerplate, and I don't feel the need to read them out. They're straightforward, unless the board or the applicant would like to hear them.
Anyone would like to hear them? I think we know what they are anyway, so. Yeah,
That's
all.
it.
That's fine. Okay, I'll go through the board now. I'll again start with Ann.
Did you start that way tonight?
Oh, sure, I can do that. Jake, you're on.
Is this just on the waiver request? Have we gone through the waiver request yet? The second one, there's another motion to grant the waiver request as outlined. Did we get through that yet?
You haven't done that yet, but usually you discuss as the board and then you do the waiver and then the
Yeah,
Okay,
motion on the application.
okay. So are we discussing the,
You're discussing in general the application.
okay. I'm okay right now.
okay. Roger,
Everything looks good to me.
Jason,
I'm good.
Yanni, Deb,
I'm okay.
Are we past the subdivision and on to the design?
No,
Okay.
You're on the
yeah,
subdivision.
Still
the,
subdivision. No questions.
Okay. Anyone from the public have any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to this subdivision plan? And I don't see anyone, so I'll be back to the board. We have the waiver. Okay, we granted two. Oh, and this is on the, with the scale of the,
I'd like to make a motion to grant the applicant's waiver request as outlined in staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
okay, motion by Jake. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Roger. Any discussion by the board on this waiver? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, sheriff's affirmative, and the waiver has been granted. We have the motion itself for the conditional approval of the subdivision. Jake?
Are we gonna talk architecturally before we get to the conditional approval, or did I just miss
This
that?
is just the subdivision
This is just
plan,
the
so the site
subdivision,
plan is the
yeah.
next
Okay.
application.
Yep, so site plans up next.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up on all these pages I got up. Where's Al? He's a lot better at this. I like seconding. Motion to grant conditional approval of a plan to subdivide map 10, lot 41 into two lots, Pillsbury Road and Michael's Way, map 10, lot 41, zone C1 in PUD Woodmont Commons Planned Unit Development, Pillsbury Realty LLC owner and LD 2020 LLC applicant in accordance with plans prepared by TF Moran dated January 21st, 2021, last revised July 14th, 2021, with the following precedent conditions to be fulfilled within 2 years and prior to plan signature and subsequent conditions to be fulfilled as noted in the staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Good job.
Thanks.
Motion by Jake, second by Roger. Board have any discussion? Seeing none, actually, the old days, Jake, we didn't have anything to read. We just took our notes through the hearing and everything, and it was off the top of your head. It's easy now. We have extremely capable staff. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, sheriff's affirmative, and The subdivision has been conditionally approved. Okay. So next, we have an application for a formal review of a site plan amendment for Block 2 of Woodmont Commons to construct a 19,792 square foot, two-story medical office building and associated site improvements. Tax map 10, lot 41, Pillsbury Road and Michael's Way. This is zone commercial 1 and PUD, Woodmont Commons Plan Unit Development. Pillsbury Realty Development LLC is the owner, and LD 2020 LLC is the applicant. And we'll go through stuff again. Colleen?
Yep. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, there is one outstanding checklist item for which a waiver has been requested. This is checklist item 5.12 in section 4.12.c.13 of the site plan regulations to provide NRCS soils. Staff supports granting the waiver as the applicant has provided site-specific soils in accordance with NHDES alteration to terrain requirements.
Okay, any questions on that? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the waiver from section 4.12.c.13 of the site plan regulations and checklist item V.12 per staff's recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Okay, motion by Jake. Do I have a second? Second by Roger. Uh-oh.
I'll pass.
Roger's hand's right up there like this.
Share the love, share the love.
It's the red shirt stands out.
It's a guy
Okay,
thing.
motion.
It is a guy thing.
Made and seconded for the waiver. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, shares affirmative, and the waiver has been granted, and we can go to completeness.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the application as complete per staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Deb. Any discussion on completeness? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, chair votes affirmative, and motion carries. The application has been accepted as complete, and we start our public hearing and our 65-day timeframe. So we'll repeat what we did before.
Jeff Cavan with TF Moran's office. Here with me is Chris Nickerson from Nickerson Design, the representative for the proposed office building. So this is a site plan going on the lot that was just created, which is map 10, lot 41-106. It's 2.3 acres, and it's in the Woodmont Commons PUD. The proposal is to have a building that's 19,792 square foot footprint, 2 stories, for a total of 39,584 square feet. The uses within the building are a variety of medical uses, as well as some eyeglass sales and nutritional supplement sales, that type of thing, and lab space. There's a variety of users within that proposed building. This is coming in and replacing some buildings that were part of the original site plan approval. So this is replacing what was building 2.03, 2.04, 4.03, 4.08, and 4.09. So what remains from the original site plan are the 2 buildings on the right of what's on the screen. Building 201 is a lower level retail, upper level office space, and then building 202 is a 1-story retail building. So that stays with the original approval that was granted before. So again, we're proposing the building, we've reconfigured the parking lot, and there's been a lot of discussion as we've come in here for a number of conceptual discussions. Again, this is on a flex block and a flex lot type, and the building type is flex as well, with a mixed use within the building. We did submit a outline that goes through the PUD standards and how they are met for each of those. I won't go through those unless the board has specific questions. From a parking standpoint, if you're looking at just this building, and the way the lot is configured, it runs up right between the two bays of parking on the right. So the one bay of parking up against Building 202 is outside this lot. This office building requires 132 spaces based on the PUD parking standards, and we have that 132 spaces on the site itself. If you look at the block as a whole, including 201, 202, and this building, we would need 174 spaces. There are roughly 166 spaces on the site, and then 27 spaces that are on the street parking directly adjacent to this. So there's roughly 193 where 174 are required if you're looking at using those on-street parking, which is really what the PUD intended. So as you can see, we discussed before how we were trying to make this have that urban feel, so the building was centered on the lot. And to either side of the building, we have implemented a 2-foot stone wall with columns and a 4-foot black metal fence that runs along that. It runs basically from the corner of the building towards Building 201 and leaves a little opening for a connection sidewalk there. About midway down that wall, we have a little sitting wall, so we've removed the fence and just have a 2-foot wall, and so that it acts as a bench itself. As you move down across the face of the building, there is no wall there, and then as you get past, we start the wall up on the other side, doing something very similar, and that runs all the way around up Governor Bell and almost to Settlers Lane. Again, we held it back a little bit as far as sight distance and so forth. We did a couple of similar seating areas there. What's interesting with this project is that you're always trying to predict what's going to happen in the future. So along Michael's Way, along that sidewalk, there's electric and gas that run under or adjacent to that sidewalk. So if you're looking at how we're kind of fitting that wall in and getting plantings in, it's because we're working around existing utilities and whatnot that have been put in the ground already. And I think same thing comes up with a waiver. We're tying into the drainage, and basically one of the last structures I had, I couldn't quite get to 3 feet. I'm 3 inches short, but I have to tie into where we, left the stub. So that kind of adds a little challenges as we go through this.
Yes, I-
Again, utilities are all left to the site. Drainage is collected and brought to 2 different points. There's one basically in front of the front door on Michael's Way that crosses the street and goes to the large pond. We're actually relocating a structure to get it out away from the door. And then the second one is about mid-block on Governor's Bell. So we have a series of catch basins within the parking lots, tie into these 2 points. And again, they were all sized for this type of development or this density of development. They both go across the street to the large pond and will be treated in that location. Sewer comes off Governor Bell. Most of my utilities come in on that north side of the medical office building. What we did with electric, it comes off of the corner towards Main Street, and we've put there was a transformer proposed behind Building 201. So we're going to come off that transformer and service both buildings there. Utility clearance letters have been provided. Again, I kind of went through the hardscape landscape. We have the sitting wall benches, but we also added another couple benches in the front. We have a bike rack in the front. we made another pedestrian connection just to the north of this building, so there's, as you come off of, so again, this site steps up as you move from Michael's Way up Main Street and up the entire site. So Settlers Lane is higher than Michael's Way, so this building sits up a little bit. There will be stairs as you come in off of Michael's Way to go in that doorway. And then on the access way to the north, we have a ramp, an ADA approved ramp or designed ramp. So you could come in that side door, and that complies with ADA as well as all the other entrances. Lighting we've provided, there are a series of, we used a more of a standard parking lot type lighting in this situation. So there's a handful of poles that light up this parking lot. And lighting, I've kept the lighting so that it shows the entire project. I've been incorporating this lighting with the other lighting so you can see how the two overlap. So the lighting plan covers everything that has been designed to date.
Now, this style of light is different from what has been used?
Yeah, instead of using the kind of the gooseneck decorative light, we used, it's a black pole, but it's more of a shoebox style light within the parking lot.
Yeah, I would think for at least continuity of design, which we kind of look for on Woodmont thing, you'd keep the same styles of lighting.
I saw that too in the plans, that you proposed a more modern design
Yep.
for the parking lot. I'm not sure why you don't keep that gooseneck.
We just thought it fit the building better, but it's something we're willing to
You've
look at.
done wonderful things with the building from what you started with. I think about the design, it's come so far, and it really looks nice. And I had hoped you'd keep those lights you have around the building as far as on the sidewalk and continue that in the parking lot, because I think it looks more appropriate.
So we can look to better or match,
think in the plan
match or
even-
use something similar within the parking lot as a condition.
Yeah, I think the matching is important also. I mean, it's like when we got into building design and everything, so.
Okay.
It's the continuity, what you're trying to express as compared to other parts of Woodmont. And we kind of look at Woodmont as like a showplace.
No, no problem at all, Mr. Chairman. We're happy to accommodate the request.
Good. What type of lighting is on the main drive there?
It's a decorative style light.
Yeah.
There's kind of a gooseneck with a,
Yeah, I think I'd much rather see gooseneck or an acorn style. Shoebox is pretty ugly, in my opinion. I think you guys have come a long way on this project, and something like that's really gonna dress up the site. Is there any lighting along the walkway?
which walkway?
I mean, the
that fo-
sidewalks?
That follows the brick
Along-
fence?
On the wall, Jake? Is
Yeah.
that-
We've implemented, I'm trying to think if it was 2 or 3, a couple of spots where we have an acorn style light, with a shield up in the top of it.
It would be great if that acorn style lighting kind of followed through that fence to give you, that real parkway feel. I think if you think of walking through a park in downtown Boston, they've got continuous light, older looking lighting. I think that would look really nice going along the wall there.
Yeah, so we put a couple, I didn't, do it continuously because the streets have already been designed and lighting installed to light that sidewalk area and everything. So we put a couple in, more as a design
Yeah, I'm looking at
feature.
more of an aesthetic thing than necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of light out there, but I think aesthetically
Yeah.
it's gonna look a lot better. I don't know, I
And
kinda
just-
see Colleen shaking her head up and down over there, so I'd be curious to see what she has to say
Well,
about
I
it.
think, right now, I believe that the plan shows it at, each end of the wall. So I think what Jake is asking is, maybe adding a couple more along, the corner, maybe near the seating area type, if there's
Make it
places that
feel
make
like
sense
you
to
can kind
supplement.
of see them going, if you're walking, you can see them going down the road type thing.
Is there anything special you're spotlighting with those lights you are putting on, or just the ends of that fence?
What's
area?
that?
On the side, on the next road, where you're putting those two feature lights you mentioned?
They were really decorative, so
Yeah,
it's
the
there's a
decorative.
pediment for the fence, and then a light sits on top of that. But you said, Jeff, they're on either end of the fence.
Yeah, I think we'd put one on either end of the building
Right,
is what
okay.
we've done. Again, if you want, another, a few of them out there.
I understand where
For
you're coming from.
decoration.
It's just decorative, but it serves a perfect purpose because it's lighting. I understand totally where you're coming from. It doesn't bother me, and if there's street lights already proposed in that area, I'm not.
So if we went with, one at each end of the wall to the right of the building, and then do a similar spacing to that on the opposite side as we go around, does that seem
Yeah,
reasonable?
that's what I was just kind of I was just Googling a spacing, an idea of spacing of, how far they should be spaced out going along the wall there. I don't know what would be appropriate, but I think having that nice park feel would really finish off the design there.
Can I ask Jake a question?
yes,
Jake,
ma'am.
do you mean instead of streetlights or in addition to streetlights? I mean, you say a
think it would
park-like feel along
Be
the
more of
road?
more of an addition. I mean, the streetlights are already along Michael's Way.
Right.
I'm looking at more of an addition to that,
So-
along the walkway, not so much, those streetlights are in the middle of Michael's Way, but I'm talking something really along the walkway.
So right now, there's a street light here in front of the building.
Yeah.
So if this is the end of the wall, and so if it's, potentially one on either end of that section of wall, and then there's already one proposed here, I think what Jeff's saying is if you're kind of spacing them, because we've got another street light over here, so maybe, here at the corner, you don't want to have something necessarily right next to the other street light,
Yeah.
but doing some spacing that seems reasonable and
Yeah.
gets a few more of the decorative fixtures out there.
That's the biggest thing, is that decorative aspect of it to really finish off the feel that we're going for on this. I think, I feel as though this project is gonna really set the tone for Woodmont going forward and what we expect.
Okay, well, I think if that's what we're talking about, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, we're.
Trying to Google something to make more sense in my head here.
I
Do
do
you
have a
ha-
question.
Oh,
Is there any difference in aluminum, the efficiency of the different size,
You mean,
different square as opposed to round?
there's probably a little bit from what we're using out there to a shoebox. Shoebox is about as efficient as you can get, but I
Okay.
mean, we don't have a problem with it. They're LED lights that we're using, so
So, okay,
they're fine. The decorative light that we're talking about, because they're gonna be lower in height,
yeah.
they're gonna be more of, their lighting will be really close to the sidewalk. So as far as actual lighting, but you do catch, because we're using that acorn shape, the light is visible, where I've used them on college campuses, I've been, that's no lighting level if you're actually taking a measurement. But if somebody's standing away and it's a dark sky, they say, well, you've lit up the whole, campus. But in reality, there's not that much light. So in this case, it won't hinder anything. So we don't have a problem with adding the lights that we just talked about.
Colleen, I just sent you an email of kind of what's in my head. I don't know if you could put that up on the screen so we all know what I'm talking about. Not necessarily an acorn-style light, but
I don't know that I can. I don't think, I can't pull up my,
okay, that's fine.
without jumping through a
In
few hoops.
the
Ian?
meantime, I have a question. Is there any bench over on that side that you're looking to feature at all? Maybe put a light over it?
Yeah, well, we, on that,
Yeah.
on the side, we have one of the seating wall areas right there. And then,
Would you have a light there to, for
We can
people
position
walking
one in
during the
that
night
side.
that want to sit? Anything like that?
I don't know if you guys have the plans, the sheet C601 does have a light that we'd shown. It's not quite an acorn, it's a little more, I would say, like a carriage type light, but. C660. And it's gonna be tiny, so. Don't know if it, we're testing Colleen's computer skills out here.
It's not that I'm slow, it's that the computer's slow.
God, it's,
These aren't the quickest. It's easy to shuffle through paper than sometimes to find stuff on this.
Yes,
Oh, there it is.
so basically, we're looking at that style light on the top of the
Is that
column.
what's in your head, Jake? That kind of light?
Yeah,
what I
something
was
similar to
thinking.
that, just continuously.
is that away from the building, or is it attached right to the building? It doesn't have any kind of,
What's that, that
Oh,
light?
it's on a-
yeah,
That-
the
that
last,
No,
would be
that's
on
on
the
the
wall.
wall that runs on
it's right
either
on the
side
wall.
of the building.
It's right attached to the wall. It doesn't
Yes, it
have
would be
any
on
kind
the top of the
Okay.
column.
That's the,
Oh, it's on a post? Is that on a post?
What's that?
Is that on a post?
Nope, it would just be mounted right on the
No.
wall, so a small
It would
post.
be positioned on the top of the column.
Oh, okay, so it is a post, okay,
So what we're proposing is,
okay.
a column. I'm
That's
trying to
what
think of the
I got.
spacing,
That's what I saw.
but basically, we've called for just 2 of these, we would add another, looks like 4 or 5 of these.
Okay.
I think that would help encourage people to walk down.
Exactly,
As
give you
well.
that walkability,
Yeah.
not just a
Okay.
big light up there.
So we're agreeable to that.
Thank you.
okay, we'll keep moving along. Anything more, Jeff?
No, I'm happy to answer any questions you all have.
Okay. We'll go to staff, and then to the board, and then to the public.
Okay,
What, Colleen?
Are we ready?
so there, let me turn on the lights, it's in the dark. So the applicant is requesting 3 additional waivers, of the site plan regulations, as follows. So the first is a waiver from section 4.01C of the site plan regulations to allow plan scale greater than 1 inch equals 50 feet for the existing conditions and stormwater management plan. Staff supports granting the waiver as the plans are legible at the scale presented. The next is a waiver from section 2.04B4 of the site plan regulations to provide an application fee based on the development area rather than the total site area. Staff does support granting the waiver because the applicant submitted a fee based on the current development area, which is consistent with past board practice of allowing a reduced fee based on the area of disturbance for projects on large parcels. And a similar waiver was previously granted for the Phase 1 site plan. So just for the board's information, rather than calculating this based on the entire, 60-some-odd acre area of Woodmont Commons, this is based on the Block 2 area, which the board has granted that waiver similarly in the past. And the final waiver request is from section 3.07G3 of the site plan regulations to allow a drainage pipe with less than 36 inches of cover. As Jeff indicated, they are tying into the existing drainage system, which limits their being able to meet that 36-inch requirement. So staff does support granting the waiver in the one location that's required, which is the invert out of catch basin 259A, due to site constraints tying into the existing system. We've included a recommended condition of approval that Class 3 reinforced concrete pipe be provided in that location. A couple other general items I have, we would be requesting that any outstanding comments from the March 26th, 2021 design review memorandum shall be addressed. Asking that prior to plan signature, the associated medical office building subdivision plan shall receive final approval and be recorded in the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. So that would be the subdivision plan creating that lot be recorded prior to this plan being signed. We're asking that a note be added to sheet C 1.2 referencing the PUD conformance memorandum that was submitted by the applicant. There are notes regarding PUD conformance, but I think that memorandum really summarizes that compliance. We'd like that incorporated by reference on the plan set. An updated submittal form and project tracking form should be submitted in accordance with sections 4.71 and 4.72 of the PUD master plan. We're asking for appropriate details for signage or striping for the ambulance parking space to be indicated on the plan, and that it be confirmed with the fire department that the ambulance parking space and location is acceptable to them. Asking for parking lot lighting fixtures, which has been discussed, to be revised to match the pole fixtures used for street lighting and parking lot lighting elsewhere through the development. And owner signature be provided on the plans. So that's all that I have for now.
Jose?
And Mr. Chairman, I will just summarize some of the main points in the design review memo. And so the applicant should confirm that the updated plan or design has been provided to NHDES as a revision of the alteration of terrain permit, and obtain an amended permit if determined by NHDES if applicable, to be applicable. The applicant should clarify the limits of the site plan amendment on the PUD conformance plan. The applicant should provide updated phasing information. The applicant has referenced an as-built plan on the checklist, but as-builts were not provided with the current submittal. The applicant has provided an as-built plan in lieu of providing on the existing conditions plan that the information required by LSPR 4.12 and checklist item 5. The applicant should verify that the as-built plans are acceptable to the Department of Public Works and Engineering and revise as necessary. The applicant should identify any areas for loading and unloading of goods. The applicant should include sizing information for the proposed water and hydrant service lines. The applicant should label separation requirements in plan view for the water and gas service lines proposed next to each other. The applicant should provide updated sanitary sewer design calculations. The proposed medical office building eliminates an existing curb cut on Michael's Way to the east side of the road between the two roundabouts. As there will be no entrance in this location, the applicant should remove the southbound left turn lane, close the opening in the median, remove any signing pertaining to the removed turning lane, reduce the number of crosswalks to 1, and add parallel parking spaces on Michael's Way as space permits between the existing parallel parking stalls and the location of the crosswalk to remain. The applicant should provide site distance documentation for the driveways accessing Settlers Lane from the medical office parking lot. And there are a number of comments related to accessible parking and motorcycle parking. I won't go through unless you guys feel it's necessary. The applicant should consider relocating the dumpster shown adjacent to the southern driveway access to Settlers Lane, nearest building 2.02, due to potential access issues. And on the grading and drainage plan sheet, the applicant should update the minimum pipe size to 15 inches. And there's a few comments on the drainage report calculations that I can discuss as well, if requested by the board or the applicant. Oh, and the two Settlers Lane entrances to the parking lot should be evaluated for site distance and commented on in the traffic memorandum. That's it.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to the board. I'll start with Ian.
I have something on it, I have something to discuss that we haven't discussed tonight,
Yeah,
on something I saw in the plans. And as concerning the type of block this is a flex block. And according to the proposal here, it says, 3 buildings are proposed for the block and are oriented towards Main Street and Michael's Way respectively. Each creates an attractive pedestrian environment, and it goes on. But then I took a look at engineering plans, grading and drainage plan, C 2.0. I was wondering if we can pull it up on the screen. And I was very surprised when I saw the elevation along Michael's Way. It goes up about 3.5 feet, and there's 7 steps to get into the building. I don't see that being oriented towards pedestrians if you're a handicapped person. There's no way for a handicapped person to get in the building from the front of the building along Michael's Way. Are you trying to bring it up?
I'm
It's
trying to
slow?
get there. It's a large file, so
It's,
it's slow.
I really never took a look at this design before, because I've never gone that deep into the plans, I must say, and I was surprised to see the elevations there
Oh, it was
and
on
find
there.
that there's a handicapped, basically ramp along the north side of the building with, it says with handrails. That's how a handicapped person will have to get into the building, not through the front along Michael's Way, which is supposed to be, according to the flex block, the building is supposed to be oriented towards Michael's Way. And then it talks about the attractive and pedestrian environment. I propose that it also be handicapped accessible. If you can create a concrete ramp along the building and then down to the sidewalk at that point, which would make it pedestrian friendly to all people who come by there. Did we get it up yet? I just want to show,
You're talking along Michael's Way in?
yes, I want to show,
Michael's Way side.
Is there
that's what it
handicap
says in the
parking there?
proposal, along
Oh,
Michael's
the
Way.
handicap parking's on the backside of the
So-
building.
But it's supposed to be proposed for the oriented towards Michael's Way.
So, right, I think this entrance and the concern is the fact that, and we know that there, in the PUD conformance memorandum, it talked about 2 primary entrances, one facing Michael's and one facing Governor's Bell. I think Ann's concern is that this entrance is not an accessible entrance, and if that can be addressed.
And that's on page 9 of that.
Yeah, it's up, Ann, but it doesn't come
it's-
across.
It's on
you
page
go to the
9, it
colored
says
plan,
it
you
on
can
9, page 9. I have a printout
Yeah,
myself.
I had it.
Can you bring it down a little?
It's a large file, Ann, so it's not really
okay.
cooperating, but I think we know that it's,
No, this
Even
is,
it's loading slow on,
Pardon?
it's loading slow for
Yeah,
the,
I saw the large plans this afternoon. It was
this is how
to see.
I
And it
had
says right on the
I had
plans.
presented it. Like I said, basically you have a site that goes from Michael's Way up the site at 1.5%, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but by the time you go 200 feet, you're 3 feet higher, right on the back side of the building. So what was previously approved were these townhouses that were like a brownstone that had steps coming down towards Michael's Way. I mean, that's what the intent was on that, was to have steps in the front, get a doorway that oriented in that direction. Parking spaces were in the back, and you would access the residence, and guests would really come in the back. This, we've designed it such that we do have a primary door facing Michael's Way. There are steps to that.
7 steps proposed.
Yeah. And, you know, what we've done is the handicap parking spaces are inside the parking lot, and we did make a connection between Michael's Way and Settlers Lane and the building, you know, that meets and complies with ADA standards. So we didn't think putting a ramp, you know, across the front of that building, you know, would be very aesthetically pleasing. And the stairs, you know, like many buildings, you know, have that presence, but it fully complies with ADA by having the other access ways meet ADA standards.
Talking on the left side of the colored picture here, it looks like you got a walkway that's got probably, what, 1, 2, 3 steps on it, or 3
7.
landings? No. Look all the way to the left.
The left side doesn't have steps, that's
It's
just a
not, it's a
ramp.
That's just a
handicap
Oh,
ramp.
so that's not a, that's a,
That's
where it
not
gets
a la-
flat on
that's-
the ramp.
yeah.
Yeah, so there is a ramp on the left side there.
Yep.
And if it helps give the board a little direction, really what, you know, we've come quite a long way on the architectural piece. And as much as we absolutely can, we're really trying to play up the curb appeal on
Yeah.
Michael's Way. So we're happy to accommodate whatever's the purview of the board, but it was our, you know, intention to landscape the front of the building as much as possible, to give it as much curb appeal. And quite honestly, it's no different than the proverbial courthouse steps that you see, where front of the building has presence at the street and there's accessible entrances elsewhere on the site.
I feel like putting a handicap ramp there, it's my opinion, would cause more of a safety issue, because now you have, you know, you've got the traffic of Michael's Way, and now you have a handicapped person getting out on Michael's Way instead of driving to the back side of the building to get out where they're in a parking lot, not on the side of the road. You know, I obviously there's a grade change there. I can see what Ann's saying, but I don't think putting a ramp there is gonna take up a lot of square footage, and that, in my opinion, is gonna get rid of what we've tried to do to the front of this building, and that's make it look very good. Throw a concrete ramp in there that I'm sure will have to go this way and then that way and this way. We're really gonna get rid of a lot of that curb appeal that we've spent a lot of time working on. So while I can understand what you're saying, Ann, I think it's more of a safety issue than anything, because now we're encouraging handicapped people to get out of their car on the side of Michael's Way.
So,
But handicaps comes in all degrees, too. 7 stairs is a lot for many seniors.
Oh, I agree. That's why there's a ramp to the left and a whole handicap parking behind it.
But the idea of the flex block is supposed to be oriented towards the main street. Every time we've seen the plan, it's been a flat elevation, basically, a picture of the facade on flat land. So when I saw this, it was 7 steps and 3.5 feet.
Yeah, I can see where,
change.
I can see what you're saying.
That's made it totally different.
I think if you drive down Michael's Way, you'll see the grade change when you're going down Michael's Way. It's not, there's really nothing they can do. You know, we can't drop the whole grade of the area down there.
I mean, the parking lot will be level.
Yeah.
There is a fully handicap accessible entrance with a ramp from Michael's Way. And it's right next to the handicap parking, so I agree with you. I think it would be more dangerous for people trying to get it out on a wheelchair,
Especially
parallel parking from Michael's Way.
Yeah, I mean,
than-
then you're
than
looking
from the
at,
flat
you're
parking
looking at
lot.
20, 30 mile an hour
anybody
traffic.
going by or anything, going up the 7 steps to get into the
Yes, but
building.
there's another option to get
But
into
the idea of a flex block is supposed to be oriented for all towards Michael's Way.
So I would assume if we had a handicap entrance at the front of the building, we would have to put handicap parking at the front of the building, correct? So that would be kind of negating what we're trying to do here, and then we're putting parking in the front of the building as opposed to the rear of the building. Because naturally, anywhere that you see a handicap ramp, there's 2 or 3 parking spaces
See, it's
right
always
there to
like
be
that.
able to
It
get up.
doesn't
So
show the
now we're
drop.
putting parking on the main strip and in front of the building.
For the
where
bulk-
do you,
Johnny?
I was just gonna ask the developers, where do you feel like your primary entrance point for your consumers will be?
So we've in the context of a medical office, there's certain things that we need to provide. So one of those is a pull-off or a drop-off area for patients and parking in a very close vicinity. And that main pull-off is on the plan I'm looking at, the left-hand side of the building. And that's where we anticipate that most patient arrivals will be. So that's fully handicap accessible, big, broad sidewalk, covered entrance so that it's safe in the wintertime. The entrances that are on, I guess it's the east and west sides of the building, or the top and bottom of this plan, could be utilized by anyone, but more than likely would be utilized by staff. So the building configuration internally has common corridors that connect all of the 3 entrances here. So any of them could be utilized because we anticipate a lot of staff will park off-site on street parking, and then allow patients to utilize the closer, safer on-site parking in the left entrance of the plan that you have there.
Well, I mean, I understand what Ann is saying with regards to that front entrance, but I kind of feel like that's going to be more presentation value, and most of your traffic is going to be coming in from that side entrance right there. And I think, you know, you folks being in a medical office probably have a higher need for handicap accessibility than any other, most users, right? And I'm sure you've provided, I would agree that I think you have a nice design here.
And that is, just to clarify and confirm, on the the northerly side of the building, there is a ramp connection from that main sidewalk up to what they're saying is the main entrance there, or where they're trying to siphon cars through for drop-off. So I definitely understand what you're saying, Ann, but I think we'd be doing more harm than good there.
Anything to add, Roger?
No, I agree. I think that putting a ramp of any kind that floods people in wheelchairs out onto Michael's Way is not a good idea. So where it is now on the side is the best.
Deb?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, anything else here?
Yeah, I just wish the screen had, this is really a pain to try to bring up something.
It's the file size for the full plan set is a large file, and unfortunately, these computers are a little slow down here, so.
Yeah,
These are the new ones?
these are ancient.
I don't think these are new. I would need to check with the IT department. Newer.
I think there's been one change since we've been in this building. We've been here about 15
But I just
years.
wish we saw this earlier in the plans, just to come upon it now, to see for the first time 7 steps and that type of elevation change, because I looked at also the walls, the change in elevation between one side of the wall and the other side. So we're gonna have like 8-foot tall, those lights on an 8-foot tall wall, if you're looking at it from the downside. I understand that. So the parking lot's gonna be on a rise compared to Michael's Way,
Yes, it will.
and everything will. So it just changes everything as far as how I view that. Because everything, like I said before, we say everything on a flat piece of property in the designs up to this point. And just finding that on page 9 of one of the
On
final
the
plans.
actual architectural designs, there's always been steps there, correct?
No,
No.
because the architectural, those elevations of the building, they're not taking into
was-
context the grading around it.
The land looked completely flat in
I'm not talking on the renderings, I'm talking on the actual full site plan, which I think the page she's trying to get to on the.
Well, the full site plan, so as the board recalls, when this was initially submitted for design review, the building was in a different location and wasn't
Yeah.
oriented right against Michael's
Oh, yep,
Way. So we didn't have, so in this formal submission is where
Is where it's been submitted, okay.
has been.
Yeah, so this is really the first time it would have ever come to the board with steps.
This is
in
the
it,
first time it would have
correct?
come to the
Yeah.
board with the stairs.
Right, and you had to have look at the full-size plans to see basically Because
I-
it's
I
hard to
can see
read
it
at that size,
Right on
and
their,
it says,
right on the colored layout they sent us, I can see it.
you can see it says proposed 7 steps with handrails.
Well, you can see
No,
the
but I can
stairs.
see the steps and the handrails. If
Right,
look
but
at
you
the
didn't
colored
know there
layout.
were steps at the time. I didn't either. It looked like a grate or something like that.
Oh, no, I knew, but first thing looking at this, I could tell you it's
Because,
steps.
What we had before was conceptual, so there
Yeah.
wasn't the detail to it.
But, and then,
And you're correct as far as the wall, so you have the 2-foot wall, the 4-foot fence. Behind it, the grade's coming up, and it climbs about 2 feet, 2.5 feet. But then that landscaping that we've put on that is 2.5 feet taller as well. You know, and so we've tried to mix it and put plantings in front and back to, again, create that urban feel and mix that hardscape landscape.
Okay, anything else, Ann?
no, but I just don't want to see that again. I want the front of buildings to be accessible, because it isn't right that this is a flex block. It's supposed to be oriented towards Michael's Way, and it isn't to everybody. And handicap doesn't mean just you're in a wheelchair, that you have some disability. So remember that. And to give a good number of people in this population in Londonderry have to take it the back way or taking a ramp up towards the back to get into it, I don't think is.
I wouldn't call it,
is appropriate
I
for
understand
this.
it's the front of the building, but I would by no means consider where they're putting everybody the back way. That would,
You have to go
nobody's
in the
gonna go
back
through that
alley to get in there.
that's the
Oh, I
point
mean,
of a
that's why I
parking lot
asked them
behind a
where their
building.
primary access point was, and it's the
We
side of the
see it as
building.
we actually have 3 fronts to this building. It's-
Correct,
And that's
It's
the
not
difficulty
that
with
there's a
having
back.
four.
We have 3 fronts
correct.
and 1 side.
Correct.
In fact, the Michael's Way entrance is probably mostly gonna be decorative.
It's
You know what I mean?
completely
It-
aesthetic,
It
yeah.
really is.
I
You-
wouldn't go
You
through it.
probably won't get a ton of incoming traffic through the Michael's Way entrance, I'd imagine.
But it says it's oriented towards Michael's Way in the literature. So that's,
Understood.
you know, it should be. It isn't in this case, and it's probably too late in the game, but I would have asked you if you could put a handicap ramp on. I totally understand that it may not be required, but it's just, you know, seeing it this late in the game, I'm really surprised. Because I did go to see a friend of mine in the handicap, in a wheelchair today, so it's fresh in my mind. But I totally understand if you can't do it now at this point, but I don't want to see this happen again. I want all the Londonderry residents to be welcome in all the buildings and at the main entrance point.
Well, I mean, it's something to think about, because again, this grade change occurs throughout, you know, so Michael's Way is on the low end of the entire site. I think we climb 6 feet or 7 feet by the time you get to the top of Main Street, right? And so if you looked at the buildings going up Main Street, I think the building that's been constructed has at least 3 steps in it, you know, which, so the floor is not level across the length of a 400-foot-long building, because there's 5 foot of vertical grade change. So there are steps. The top of the building was held flat, so what you actually have is, you know, 16-foot ceiling height on one end and a 12-foot or 11-foot on the other side. So I hear what you're saying, but again, as you build buildings along Michael's Way, there will be this grade change, and if the parking is in the back, you know, that the elevation will be set or controlled by that parking lot, which is, you know, what occurred with this design. We can look at getting ADA ramps up to it, you know, to the doors. But then, you know, again, the question will be, do you want a ramp running across the face of a building? So that's what your view is from Michael's Way. The other piece to it is, you know, the PUD says we should be only set 10 or 12 feet or some minimal distance off of the street.
Minimum 10.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not intended to be 20 or 30 feet. It's supposed to be fairly close So it's a streetscape. And so, again, you're gonna have a ramp very close to that building. If that's what, you know, the board's asking, we'll make sure that occurs. But I'm just explaining why we're where we're at.
No, that's great.
It is a medical building too, so it's,
You had a question, Jim?
Well, could you just show, these are real easy, okay? Could you just show me where, on the site, the bike racks are?
Yeah, we
Because I
just,
can't seem to see them, and,
if you wanna pull up the color up, Colleen, I think it's.
Oh, man, now I just got the full
that
one.
one little thing? Yeah. Okay, so there's only one, or is there two here and here?
We've just shown one.
one right there, to the left of the front door.
So you
on
only
Main
have
Street.
it towards Michael's Way, you have none in the back, correct? Well, not the back.
Correct, and we can add one in the back if,
I just think that, you know, if they're coming the
Yeah.
other way, you know,
It would be convenient for the cycling.
yeah, for the.
we'd
for-
probably orient that more towards the Settlers Lane entranceway, the doorway.
I just think you need more than one. I think
Okay.
you'd be surprised, and this is more for like the employees, you might be surprised how many of them might bike to work.
Yeah.
The other thing, and it's just a pet peeve, and I don't know how many of you go up and down Michael's Way, but trash there is ridiculous, and I really, really hope that you put in those nice wrought iron trash barrels that kind of,
We do have one along Michael's Way, and then we'd figure internally that, you know, there'd be trash receptacles as you went into this building. We did put one
I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe another one or two, just because, I don't know if you've gone down there. I mean, right now, it seems like to be loaded with Whippet cans, so I guess that's the new phase in Londonderry. Don't laugh, but it is. They're all over the place there. I left Market Basket and I counted 28 of them between one circle and the other. So I'm just saying this because, you know, maybe they'll throw them in the trash can, I don't know. But those are my only two. I know they're frivolous and,
Okay.
but yeah.
Well, it's part of it. It's good to bring it.
I guess one more question with the lighting. Are the lights gonna be on all night, or are they gonna shut off? Are they gonna be like motion sensed late at night if somebody's walking at night? That kind of a thing?
So typically what we do in our other buildings is we leave perimeter lighting on all night, but the actual like parking lot lighting, the ones on the poles, will
Yeah.
shut off, you know, an hour after the businesses close.
Okay,
And fortunately now, you know, because of computers, it's a lot easier to control that. In, you know, the older days, it was a lot more work to kind of set them in.
yeah, I was thinking about light pollution, you know, for the other
we-
people
we-
in the area.
We try to keep it safe, but overnight, tone it down.
Yeah, I know like in Boston, the big thing now, and on the walks like you're talking about, the lights that would be on the posts, they're kind of motion censored. So if somebody's walking late at night with their dog down that area, at least the lights would pop on for a little bit and go off. I don't know if you guys consider that, it's a safety thing, who knows with muggers there, I mean,
The other question is, that's so close to the road, would cars trip motion?
oh,
sensors?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could
It's set.
set the sensor.
Set back, probably the ones along the road, you'd want on for.
Right.
I don't know, I'm just thinking, you know, because there are gonna be people who live in those apartments that are gonna walk by there at night, and it's, you know,
Yeah, in Europe, it seems like all the lights are motion things.
Yeah.
Escalators are motion things too, because the escalator just stopped. Just get a little closer and it starts running.
yeah. It's just, you know, trying to conserve some energy and conserve on light pollution and keep people safe, you know, when they're walking. And like I said, the barrels, good thing, maybe dog poop, people will pick up. I do see a lot of people walking their dogs over there, so you don't want that in front of your beautiful building.
Stations. Johnny, anything?
No, I think I'm all set.
Jason,
I am good, thank you.
Roger.
I have a comment about the handicap on Michael's Way. I think it's over 10 years that I've been helping handicapped people. And never in my lifetime would I park on Michael's Way and go up a ramp if I could drive through the parking lot and bring them off at a safer place. So I think aesthetically, you made it look the way it is, but I don't think you did any damage to anybody that's gonna need handicap accessibility.
Remember, we do have a senior facility in Woodmont also,
Yeah.
so.
Jake?
I think I'm good. You guys have done a really good job with this, from when it had first come here. I think it looks really good. I did find a picture of the lighting that I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys could see it, but see how when you're going down the street there, you kind of get this nice,
Oh.
nice light look to it, you know? Something like that walking down the road, or where
That's a big ball, right?
it's not necessarily the ball as much as it is the feel of that lighting.
They're pulling you down.
So I think that's all I've got. The colors on the building, I think look pretty good. I was trying to Google them while I was up here. I like the blend on the brick. I like that you're going with a red brick instead of a tan brick. I started looking them up because to me that looks a lot more like a brown brick on the rendering, but I found the Endicott burgundy blend, which has got a nice color to it that's really representing more of that New England feel than kind of the stuff that's across the street that I've gotten a lot of negative feedback on for the coloring. So I think it looks good.
Okay. Is there anyone from the,
I just want to say,
yeah,
I hope all this light doesn't obscure the beautiful sunsets at Woodmont. I went out I was in Macabasket last night, and the gentleman at the checkout, he said, "Did you see outside?" It was amazing. The sky over Woodmont and the view from Michael's Way to the west, it was amazing. And people who live there are very lucky to get that view all the time. But it was just so striking, the reds and blues in the sky, it was just,
It's half
Amazing.
of the 603 social media.
Yeah,
Because they're
Every other
posting-
picture on
they're posting
Instagram.
sunsets every single night. Yeah, it's,
it's really gorgeous. And you did a great job on the building, the design.
Thank you. Thank
I
you very
noticed
much.
the windows, the mullions, they're not red anymore, right?
It's toned down.
Toned
So
down,
much-
okay.
we took all the Heritage Commission comments, which was
Yeah.
toning down the red, getting the 4 panels
Thank
rather
you.
than we had 3 before, and then tweaking the brick color.
Yeah.
And put that all into the plans that are in front.
This is a nice
Yeah, it
blending
works.
of old and new, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Modern and old. It's a good blend.
Traditional,
Excellent, excellent.
Traditional.
traditional. It's not colonial, it's traditional
Oh, but it's a
design.
blend. It's got a
Okay,
hodgepodge,
With the
but it
punch
works
of the aluminum.
anyone from the public, any abutters have any questions, comments, concerns in regards to the site plan amendment? And I don't hear anyone or see anyone, so we'll bring it back to the board. We have 3 waivers in which to make a decision on, and then the conditional approval itself.
One last thing, Art, I think Al brought it up the last meeting. Are those islands gonna connect now that that curb cut's gone on Michael's Way?
That was one of
Yes.
the comments.
That's one of our review
Thank you.
comments.
Okay, I'll take a motion on the 3 waivers.
Motion to approve the applicant's request for waivers 1 through 3 as outlined in the staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Motion of the 3 waivers by Jake, by Jason.
I got it in.
You made the move first. Any discussion on the waivers? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative. Waivers have been granted. And we'll go to conditional approval now.
Like to make a motion to grant conditional approval of the site plan amendment for Block 2 of Woodmont Commons to construct a 19,792 square foot, 2-story medical office building and associated site improvements, map 10, lot 41, Pillsbury Road and Michael's Way, zone C1 and PUD, Woodmont Commons Plan Unit Development, Pillsbury Realty Development LLC, owner, and LD 2020 LLC, the applicant, in accordance with plans prepared by TF Moran dated July 15th, 2016, last revised July 15th, 2021, with precedent conditions to be filled within 120 days of the approval and prior to plan signature, and general and subsequent conditions of approval to be fulfilled as noted in the staff recommendation memorandum dated August 4th, 2021.
Colleen?
I'll wait for a second, and then I just want to add an additional comment.
Okay, I have a motion by Jake. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Roger. Okay, discussion.
So, Mr. Chair, just based on the discussion this evening, I would recommend that an additional condition be added, that that additional decorative features will be added along the wall to the satisfaction of staff, and we'll review that based on the discussion here this evening, that they be added at a reasonable distance.
Okay, motion
Does that
maker-
include the change in the shoebox lights?
The shoebox lights is already included. We already have that
Okay,
to
thank
match the existing.
Thank you.
So, motion maker agrees with that, second agrees with that.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, chair's affirmative, and it's conditionally approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Very nice.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
Are we done?
Is
Thanks,
any other business? Next week, we will not be having a meeting because Colleen is still getting information out of the DES and other Manchester Waterworks also. So there's really nothing to do with it for next week.
Correct. We're still, we're coordinating with Manchester Waterworks and regarding the water connections, and looking to have a presentation from DES possibly at the September meeting to discuss groundwater and aquifer protection. So at this point, it's, would be, we don't have much to present to the board that's changed since last month, as we're doing a little bit of additional homework and coordinating with the town attorney. So get a week off next week.
Yeah, and when we have the presentation by the DES, we'll have the conservation, we'll invite the Conservation Commission in to attend also, so that, because some of this, we're going to have to work on together.
I was just going to say, did you get the email from Manchester Waterworks that they're giving tours on their new facility?
Where's the new
I
facility?
did
new
not get that
station.
email, but I know that they do have a new facility, but I did
Well,
not.
I'm just thinking it might be something that, they might want to take a little trip up to take a look at for the capacity.
Where's the facility?
I don't know, I just got the invitation. I just wanted to make sure that you got the invitation.
I haven't seen it, but we'll get a copy of that and
There's
forward it.
two water towers they have, I think, a facility on,
Brown Ave?
no,
Right off of
no.
South Main.
But I think at Massabesic, there's a facility.
Oh, I know where it is,
there.
yeah,
I mean, they've got several of them, but
yeah.
I don't know where headquarters.
Is it on the same property? It's quite large.
I don't know. We can look into that and get back.
We'll-
I just thought it might be something that the planning board might want to look at, just to get a little quick tour on how they're processing and cleaning and
Yeah, a long
some
time
new
ago.
stuff.
A long time ago, whoever was head of Manchester Water came in and gave the board a presentation. But it's always something for future also.
Yeah, no, they're very
It's,
good there.
they are probably the primary source of water, because the other water we get in town from other companies all come from Lake Massabesic, so through Manchester. So, critical. Yeah, so vacation time next Wednesday, so.
Nice.
And we'll be prepared for September. We'll get into the meat of some of this anyway. But we'll take it, piecemeal, and we'll be thorough.
Yes, also coming in September, in addition to regulations and water resources, we will have a workshop on the capital improvement plan, and public hearing on that will be planned for October.
Okay.
Fun and exciting fall.
CIP, I know there's nothing on the town side, so. So we'll see what the school is up to. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned by Jake, second by Roger.
Just when I get the plan up.
Mine's off doing something else, so I don't know what to.
I want drawings next time.
All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.